This is the Unbreakable Golfers podcast, where we're shining a light on your pain and weakness and how it is affecting your positions, your power, and your performance on the golf course. So joining me today is James Skelton. James is someone that I've worked with for years. He's been someone that I found basically for Aimpoint. James was doing something which was the Aimpoint when we had to use a chart, which you'll speak about today. I sort of sought him out, found him online, went to see him. And then when I went to see him, I realised we'd actually met each other before at the previous golf range. And then from there, I've worked with James with, well, pretty much everything that I've done in England was with James for one reason or another. He's a forward-thinking person. He likes to have a look at new stuff that's working, see what he thinks that clients may be suffering with, and then he will immerse himself in that. And he's got loads and loads and loads and a wealth of information that can help golfers, not only in how it links to what we do with the body, with fitness, with corrective exercise, with power, with performance and everything that. So first of all, I'd like to introduce James. James, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, buddy. How are you?
I'm not too bad. I am, believe it or not, I'm carrying a small little injury at the moment from jiu-jitsu, which is
Jiu-jitsu
swing. Yeah. So as luck would have it, summer's come in and it's time to have a little rest.
Is it coming? It's not looking very summery here at the moment.
Well, it's like they have randomly turned the heat up here. It's like someone's in the oven and just turned it up. And
we need it back on here. It's looking very grey and glum.
So, James, first of all, just to let people know, so tell us first of all about, say, for instance, start with how you got into coaching and how you got into things like Aimpoint and a lot of the other stuff that you work with.
It's the long story, the long-winded version. So I've been coaching for how many years now? Probably about, getting on to 18, 19, yeah, almost 20 years. Oh my goodness, getting quite a lot now. So I started out as, obviously most people do, amateur player, aspirations to make it as a professional, realised fairly early on that wasn't going to happen because there were so many good people out there that were going to be better than me. So I turned my hand to coaching, which I loved. I was fortunate enough that I got to coach quite a lot early on as PGA pro when I was training. I had a lot of help from certain people, which was great. So it gave me a really good grounding and background. And I think because I loved it so much, I just sort of threw myself into it. So I tried to get to as many seminars as I could, tried to go and see people that I wanted to see coach, traveled around the world a little bit to various places to see certain people teach and seminars. It was great. Fast forward a few years, I'd left my position as a coach at a driving range teaching full time, and I took on a head pro role. Did that for 11 years. And while I was doing that, I got involved in, as you'll know, Aimpoint green reading. So a friend of mine who was out in the States at the time, who I'd met through Twitter, John Graham, he was over and he was doing some clinics with Aimpoint, which I knew absolutely nothing about. And he was doing them over at, I think we were up near Bedford somewhere or that way. And John came over and he'd advertised it, and it was pretty much aimed at pros, and quite a few of us went up there, and the early days of Twitter sort of met up and did the clinic. And I was like, this is fantastic, it's amazing, loved it, wanted to get involved. So I got quite heavily involved with Jamie Donaldson, who really threw himself in, who now head up Aimpoint Europe, and we met Mark Sweeney, the inventor of Aimpoint, who won an Emmy for it in, I think, 2007 for Best Sports Technology. Mark was a great guy. I went through the process similar to Jamie and wanted to become an authorised instructor, which I did, I think, in 2011. So yeah, last time the Open was at St George's, so Mark certified me. The process has changed. So Mark and Jamie and a few of the other instructors worked really hard to change how it's taught over the last decade, and I think it's in a really good place now. And it's evolved from just being like a green reading system to, we help players deal with their aim tendencies, we help people with speed tendencies, and obviously the technical sort of issues as well. I left my position as head pro in December 2018. Yeah, that's about right. To go back into full-time coaching. So I'm back doing what I I love now, which is just coaching people. I think majority of the coaching is probably made up with putting and with Aimpoint, but obviously do full swing and a lot of short game, that sort of stuff as well. So we're using TrackMan and those sort of technologies to help people. I started working with the county about a year and a half ago, so I now deliver all the putting sessions for the county, so just across the various squads. So I've got quite a nice job, so I don't have to manage any one squad, but I get to sort of jump about between them and help out with all the different ones, sort of ranging from the, you know, your first team and your Colts and your boys teams to your girls and your, you know, women's A squads, seniors, all sorts. So it's really, really nice. Still coaching a lot of Aimpoint, traveling around doing it. I think people are really enjoying, sort of embracing it as a system. It's great. We've got, you know, well over, I think, 200 tour pros that have used it or are going through the process. And I think 5 world number ones have used it now across the tours. So obviously, notably, I think it's just changed though. I think Rahm's now gone to world number 1, hasn't he, after the US Open. But yeah, DJ obviously was using it, having a lot of success with it. And it's one of the things people always ask, who uses it? There's loads of people out there using it. But I love teaching it. I think it's a great way for people to improve their score. It's a skill that requires no golfing ability. That's what I like about it. You haven't got to be a good golfer.
Yeah, that's what I love about it as well.
The big factor. Executing it afterwards, yes, but it's one of those skills, a bit like course management. You don't need to be a particularly good golfer to be good at it, but it's the execution afterwards that obviously helps that.
I must
so that's where I am now. So yeah, coaching a lot of Aimpoint, enjoying it. It's great. Yeah, hopefully the weather carries on being half decent, so we can get a lot more in over the summer after this lockdown.
Yeah, it's been tough. It's been tough. Even here, I've struggled to play for one reason or another. I mean, talking about what you said about requires no skill, it reminds me of the first session, the one we used to do with a chart. I remember I come down to see you, and there was a guy there that injured his hand. I'm not sure if it was he'd broken it or he'd burnt it. He was in a bandage on one of his hands, and he was sinking putts one-handed with this other hand, and he just rolled it. And I remember everyone that was there was just like, I can't believe it, because you was literally just saying, right, this is what's your read, this is your aim, this is where you point it. And it was one of those eye-opening moments when you just understand that something works but don't understand how it works.
Yeah.
And that's what I loved about it, that very first session. And like I say, then when we used to use the chart and all things like that, there was a lot more involved with it. And now, obviously, with the express version, it's I know one thing it's done for me. When I go on the green, I don't have any lack of confidence of read.
No,
because I feel as if I've got it wrong for one reason or another. I know why I've got it wrong.
Yes, you've got great feedback as well, which is a good thing, which I always say to people, it's not a problem. Making mistakes is not a bad thing. You can learn from it and learn what you've done wrong. Like you say, I forget that you did the chart use, and obviously it's evolved quite a lot since that. And for those sort of anyone who's listening who's never really seen Aimpoint, it started off as like a live technology is what it was. It was just on the golf channel, and the sort of Mark and the guy I was working with, they'd laser map greens. They had a great big sort of logarithm, and this laser mapping would obviously come up with a sort of the green on screen, and they put all the maths work into it. They'd click a mouse where the player's ball had gone live while it's going on, and then they would get the line to project onto the TV screen that you see. And obviously certain channels do it now. Some don't get the maths probably as good as what it used to be, but is what it is. And then the chart came out, like you said about, so it was chart form, just like a yardage chart where you just locate where you were on the green. But again, I think it just shows you that you've got all that information there. You still got a lot of people still didn't want to necessarily embrace the chart or use the chart because they felt either under pressure or self-conscious from other playing partners. Didn't want to get the chart out and use it. And that's where Express came in. So it's interesting that the chart's so good that people still didn't want to use the chart sort of in play, still felt that sort of self-consciousness about using it, and that worry. I think, again, the more people practice with the chart, the quicker and the better they got using it. But the Express is great now because there's no chart work. It's all done with your fingers. And as you know, it's very, very quick. Read sort of, anywhere from 3 to 10 seconds for reads. So it's great.
Yeah, I must admit that was because we spoke. You just started. I think you'd either just started doing the Express, or you just started getting real results with people that were doing Express that had done the chart form originally. And you said, "I'll come down and do it." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll make some time and do it." And I went down, and I remember the setup. It was just so simple. And I even remember, again, it was another situation when you sit there and you think, well, I can see that it works, but I don't understand why it works. But now I no longer care.
Absolutely.
Because it was night and day. And what I loved as well was we was messing about with some stuff. And I think we messed about with some chipping. We was like, well, if you was going to chip that, go and sense out where to feel with your fingers. And the chips were getting even closer, which was surreal. So what type of results have you had recently? Because I know you travel around now to golf courses and you do Aimpoint sessions at certain golf courses in the area, or all around the country. And what type of results are you getting from people that haven't either seen it or don't really understand it? Because that's one thing that I found with golf performance. Like similarly, I got into it in 2011. And it was, Titleist Performance Institute. And I would go to speak to golfers and speak to golf pros and golf clubs about, you was the first person to adopt it when I come to your golf club. You said, yeah, it sounds great. I've heard of it. Yeah, I know about this. And we just pretty much moved forward within the space of a week. But it seemed as though if everyone isn't using it, or if everyone isn't hearing about it, people are very, very reluctant to either look at it or invest the time in it, or they think it's something else, which is quite kind of crazy when you think that they will see an advert for a particular driver or a particular set of equipment, and then all of a sudden they will purchase it and then test it out themselves. So what kind of results have you had with people that now it's becoming more and more, it's aware of it, you sort of they mention it on the channels when they're talking about golf. So what type of reception are you getting with now when you go around to these golf courses and you are pretty much...
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one because I did a clinic on Friday. I did 2 clinics, so not too far from here, down at Nell Park, with Andy, who's head pro there, Andy Butterfield, who's a good player. And Andy's hosted some clinics and he likes it. It's interesting when you talk to the players at the start, because I still say to them, you probably feel like this is something that's new and just come out, but I've been taking it for 10 years. And I think the problem you've got with golf is it is a very slow turning ship. It's like trying to turn a cruise liner around in the ocean rather than like a dugout canoe. It takes a very long time to get things moving. Like you say, I think people are very much aware of, okay, what are the tour players doing? What are these players doing? What am I seeing? And if it's not necessarily hugely apparent, they perhaps don't then go down the rabbit hole and start investigating. And I think you sort of bring it back to that almost finite, Simon, I know you like to read a bit, that sort of Simon Sinek sort of infinite mindset of, oh, well, this is like the confines of what I always do. Same with the business. Well, this is what we always do, and this is how we play the game, and this is what's expected. But I think if you look forward a little bit more, so people are perhaps a little bit more forward thinking and sort of looking to see, okay, what's coming in the future, tend to have the better results. So although people still think it's a fairly new thing, it's been around, like I say, I think Mark won the Emmy for it in 2007. But it still amazes me, sort of even on Friday after doing it for 10 years, how baffled people are at the simplicity, but also the results that they're getting along with it.
Yeah.
And some people, you can't change some people. Some people still say, oh, well, that putt hasn't gone in and this putt hasn't gone in. And usually there's a reason the putt hasn't gone in. It's not the system, it's not the numbers that are on the chart. They're the same regardless. A ball breaks, the same amount across the same slope, across the same stint green here in America and Australia. It doesn't matter where it is. So the ball breaks that much. So it's going to be down to the player either not hitting start line or getting the speed wrong, something like, or maybe like an outside factor, it just hits a bobble. Some people, I think, just look for the excuse not to use something in a way. It's the same with you. People are going to look for excuses. If people don't want to exercise, people don't want to improve their physical performance, they'll find an excuse not to do it. Exactly. It'll be, I haven't got the time, or, oh no, I can't do that, I haven't got that range of motion, or I'm too old, or it's just too difficult, I don't want to do strength training, I prefer to do running. It's like what excuse can I put out to just avoid the actual confrontation of actually this could work for me and this could be good. Hopefully, I say 99% of people that come either for a lesson, whether it's swing work, short game, Aimpoint, they tend to embrace it. But especially the process of Aimpoint, I think once you get people on board, they love it. And it's like anything else, it's a skill that's got to be practiced. So, coming for a 2-hour session and expecting to just go out the next day and be absolutely world class and get it perfect every time, it doesn't happen. You've got to put some effort into it, and you're definitely on your way after 2 hours and get in there, and you'll be far better than what you were when you walked into the clinic. But you've still got to stick at it. Having a lesson with a driver on TrackMan and saying, well, you need to do this. If you don't go and practice that, and then you step onto the tee a week later and you get no balls and you haven't done any of the drills, but you're expecting the result to be different, it's a bit crazy. You've got to put that time in and do the things that you've been asked to do to try and get that leap forward, that gain forward. But from a enjoyment point of view, I think people enjoy using it. They like the simplicity of it. They like the fact that they can use it on pretty much every single hole, on every time they walk out onto a golf course now, which is great. And although putting isn't as important as long game, as in long game can affect your score in a greater way, putting's far easier for people to develop. It is a much smaller skill compared to being able to hit a drive like DeChambeau or Brooks Koepka or Bubba Watson. Being able to hit it 340 yards, very different to being able to hit a 10-foot putt. And being able to read a green, there's no reason you can't read a green as well as a world-class player, if not better. It's a skill set that you can definitely develop, no matter what your ability, age, gender, it doesn't matter.
I must admit, that is, I can only imagine it was around sort of 2015, 2016 that you taught me the express version. I might be wrong, for the simple reason that it was those sort of 2 years when I had a really big shift in everything I was doing with fitness.
Yeah, I think it probably was. Probably about 4 or 5 years ago now. Yeah.
And I remember it's still now, every time I play golf, it's still something I use all the time.
Oh, absolutely.
And this is the one thing that's fascinating about it, is that you will go and have a lesson and there'll be something you're working on your swing, but then obviously when you come back a year later or 2 years later, that thing isn't something you're still working on because it might be something else, or you've changed clubs, or your body's changed, your posture's changed. There can be so much change in what's going on. But it seems as though, all those years ago, it's still the same thing I still use. I still use it, and I know I don't use it enough because I don't practice enough, I don't play enough, but I still have absolute confidence in it. And that's the one thing that, like what we were saying before about you kind of need to convince people, like with golf fitness and treatment and golf specific assessment, all that stuff. Everyone now is looking at Bryson and they say, and when you say people looking for excuses, they say, well, I don't want to do the work he's doing. And say, well, he's kind of an anomaly. He's not the benchmark. Every guy on tour is doing some sort of fitness. Every guy on tour is being treated. Every guy on tour is playing the best equipment. Every guy on tour is getting their numbers checked. Every guy on tour is working with their systems with putting. And it's kind of, that's already straight away in their mind. They go, well, that guy does that. And I imagine you've had times before, and we've seen it before. We've had seen stuff, Twitter conversations years ago, and you would see someone that was using it. I'm not sure if it was Adam Scott or something, but someone was using it, and then
Adam Scott's been using it for a long time. Yeah,
they would miss a putt, and then it straight away would be like, yeah, that shows you Aimpoint doesn't work.
Yeah,
missed a putt. And you think it's like any excuse, like you say, to not be willing to either try something new or make themselves accountable for the work that they need to do after.
Absolutely. Things, it's like putting someone on a diet, isn't it? Saying, right, I'm going to give you what to eat and what to train with. And after 2 days going, you haven't lost a stone.
Yeah.
It doesn't work, this diet. I'm not where I want to be after that time. There's things that happen. You've still got to pull the trigger. Golf's difficult. Putting is difficult. When you break it down, how smaller thing, that object of a golf ball, 1 point whatever inches, trying to get into a 4-inch cup. And at two, just to, from a speed point of view, if you hit a putt 2 feet past the hole, which is good speed control, but that cup shrinks down to half its size, it's 2 inches. So you're putting, if you're hitting it 2 feet past, you're putting like a 1 point whatever inch diameter golf ball into a 2-inch target.
Yeah.
It's amazing we have a hole of putt anyway. But the key is do we get closer with our misses when we do miss? Are we converting more, not just in that round and not just in that tournament, but over the course of the season? And that's the thing, you got to look at the big picture. Is we can all go out and hole loads of putts and we can all go out and miss loads of putts. But over the course of the season, has my putting improved from where I was? Has my game improved from where I was to where I am now in 12 months or 6 months, or the season of the PGA Tour? And I think that comes back to having a starting point and perhaps recording what you want to do. I mean, one of the hardest parts of probably my job, probably your job as well, but with golf stats and recording for amateur players, it's something that they generally don't do. And it's hard to get them to do it. And I think they feel like they don't really need to do it because they're not a good enough player. But then you've got no way of knowing how far forward perhaps you've come over that period. If you don't measure what you're doing at the time and then keep track of it going forward, how do you know that you've got any better? If I go to train and I say, okay, right, I'm going to train, I'm going to do like a month. If you don't use scales, or you're not measuring yourself with a piece of string around you, or you haven't taken like a picture of a before and after, you didn't look at yourself in the mirror, you probably wouldn't know whether you've improved or not.
Yeah.
So I think having that record of, okay, yes, I have improved, and that's what someone like Adam Scott will be. So commentators can say all they want, oh, he's missed that putt, or I don't know why he's doing that from here, blah, blah, blah. The bottom line is, over the course of the season, does that player hold more putts within a certain range? Have they sort of improved their free putt probability? Are they holing more or 2-putting more against their peer groups, against that PGA Tour peer group? And if the answer is yes, then it's a great result.
Yeah.
If the answer is no, then probably something else needs to be done. Something's going wrong. But all of those players will track their data, and they'll be tracking, what am I doing off the tee? What am I doing into the greens? How many greens am I hitting? Where am I hitting it to? How many putts am I having? Where am I holding putts from? Which becomes a big factor as well.
I must admit, like you saying about tracking data. So, I mean, obviously, the golf mob, it's a system that everyone works through. But when I talk about sort of losing, if someone's asked me, so like, how do you lose weight? Like, how do you get fitter? And there's a million different ways you could do it. But really, you just have to do 2 things: train every day and track what you eat. If you do those 2 things, you will make your own assumptions of what you need to do. You've trained too hard one day, next day you need to train not as hard. Or you say, for instance, you start running, you do a certain amount of running, you get to a point where this run isn't really challenging me anymore, then you increase it. Track what you eat, you're aware of what food are, what calories are in certain food, what foods make you feel tired, what foods make you feel powerful, when you feel full, when you feel tired, times that you learn all that about yourself. And it's the one thing that when it comes to, people say to me, they say, well, yeah, I'm struggling with it. Are you tracking what you eat? Nah. Right. Okay. Then we're kind
100%.
You're kind, because you need to learn yourself. And I must admit,
I've been tracking what I've been eating for the past sort of 5 weeks, because I've been trying to shift a little bit of poundage from after lockdown. And it's amazing when you start entering it in, what's in food.
Yeah.
And what you're putting in your body, and 2, how much you can potentially consume with things that aren't necessarily even needed or nutritionally valuable. But once you start tracking it, you're obviously holding yourself accountable, and you can sort of look at it and go, And you know me, I love coffee. I'm the same as you.
Yeah.
You start looking at it going, I'm having a latte and that's about 140 calories. I've had 5 of them today. So I've done, you know, the best part of 600 calories. So as a male, that's what, just over a quarter of probably what I want to be putting in my body. And I've done it in drinks. That hasn't even really filled me up. I've just got a bit of a caffeine buzz. So,
Exactly.
but when you're just doing it and just like, oh, just put another coffee on or just grab that snack or just do that. I think you're right. You're not engaging your brain. It's almost just habit, just go into it.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. It's breaking the bad habit, isn't it? Or breaking a habit, not necessarily bad, but breaking a habit and doing something different. I think once you've done it for, you know, what is it, about 30 days to ingrain a new habit, people sort of reckon.
Yeah.
So once
Yeah.
you've done it
I mean,
for a while,
yeah.
it just becomes the norm. So I was tracking what I ate for a few weeks. I know now what my general eating habits are. I know pretty much what's in food, what I'm putting in. So I know what's good for me to have for breakfast, lunch, and then what I can have for dinner, what I've got left over, rather than just grabbing stuff throughout the day and sort of putting it in. And it's saying, like you say, any data that you can collect when you're trying to improve anything, whether it's your strength, fitness, speed, golf swing, short game, putting, if you've got an idea of where you're starting from as a base, gives you somewhere that you can go forward with it rather than just going, oh, I'm just going to go and play. It's having that dedication, that time at the end of the round or afterwards to go, right, I'm just going to sit down. It's going to take 5 minutes, 10 minutes on my phone or in my notebook, in my journal. I'm just going to write down those few things that I need to do. How many greens have I hit? Where did I hit it to? How much footage did I hold? You know, or I've done my training. What did I do today? Right, I did this set of weights, then this set of weights, then this set of weights. Have I done all of those? Perfect. What have I eaten? Right, let's put that into the app. And there's so many, like I say, so many free apps out there that you can just get that you can track stuff on. It's all in your hand. But I think again, excuses come in, and I don't want to do that at the end of the round. I don't want to sit down at the end of the round for 15 minutes and put that in. Okay, well, if you don't want to do it, then don't moan about it afterwards. That's the key. It's fine, but don't then moan to me that you haven't seen the improvement, or don't moan to your friends that you're not playing as well as you think you should be.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a big step, having that data and knowing where you're going wrong or where you're going right. Big stepping stone for people.
So going back to obviously the idea of coaching, I know obviously I've done some as well, like we do the coaching with the Kent teams. With their, so say for instance, you know, you're coaching juniors all the way up to senior players, and they're all obsessive golfers. They either all want to win or all want to get better. That generally most people fall into that sort of, you know, I want to win, I want to get better. There's that, you know, there's that driving sort of desire. With what you've been doing with the Kent teams, and is there any way you've been thinking about the future, as in where sort of the younger golfers might be going and what they need to be focusing on, or other problems that might be coming up now? Obviously, with the lockdown, one of the things that happened with the lockdown is, you know, you couldn't buy any nets anywhere. You couldn't buy. It kind of seemed there was this big explosion of like, I'm desperate to play golf. So you had all these people that are desperate to play golf. Now there's obviously seems to be more and more people that are either interested in golf or, you know, wanting to get involved. Certainly from a coaching point of view, they want to get better. It seems as though so many people want to get better. What are you sort of seeing at the moment? Where are you seeing any patterns where there is sort of people coming out of lockdown, they have the same sort of issues, or is it literally just the obsession to get better is making the huge difference?
I think, so coming out of lockdown, I think it's weird for everyone. I think there was definitely that urge from people to just get back out there and do something, whether they're a golfer or whether it was another sport. They just want to find that normality. I think probably from my coaching point of view, if I sort of cast a very vast net over all the people that I teach, I think a lot of people would probably have come out of lockdown going, I haven't played for a while, I better go and have a lesson and sort of a checkup. Which is fine. We sort of try and get people back on the straight and narrow, but you know, sort of my ethos on what I feel coaching needs to be. And I think if it is a band-aid coaching session, And what I mean by that is that if someone's coming to you in pain, and that's when most people come for a lesson, right, or a session with you, they're in, either whether it's a physical treatment you got to give them, or they're just not happy with their weight or their performance. They're in pain, and that could be physical pain or mental pain. You know, they're not happy, emotional pain, not happy with how they're playing, their shoulders hurting them, whatever. So that's usually that almost trigger, isn't it, for them to want to come and do a session. Now, the problem that you have as a coach, and that you've got as a coach and trainer, is that if that is the only session that they do, and then you don't see them for a long time after that, the pain will just come back, because they generally won't be able to carry on themselves on the right path. So the best thing for most people to do is to obviously have those sessions over a period of time, whether they're playing badly or they're playing good. I love to see people when they're playing good golf, because you can see them when they're at their best, and you can record, okay, what are you doing when you're hitting it really well? What do you look like on the video? What do your numbers look like on the TrackMan? What do you look like putting wise? And then you've got a record. So if any problems occur in the future, you can sort of take them back to that and go, well, look, this is the way you sort of strayed off the path. Let's bring you back to that. And again, everyone compares themselves to what they see on TV. You got to remember, those guys are seeing someone probably swing in between tournaments. Some at tournaments, and maybe too much. That's another road to go down, but definitely in between tournaments, and having checkups with their coaches. And they're probably having a checkup with their putting coach if they've got one, or the short game coach, or they're speaking to someone from a mental point of view. They'll also be speaking to their physical coach and nutritionist. So you've got this big team around them that it's constantly driving them forward. They don't just go, oh, I'll go and see my swing coach, and then I'll go and play the tournament. I'll speak to him, in a couple of months' time. If I've had a bad run, I'll go and see him again. It's just not the way it works. Whereas that tends to be the way that we sort of amateur players tend to view it, is I'll go and have a lesson when I'm playing badly, rather than say, right, I'm going to invest that time over 6 months or a year. So I'm going to go and see James every 2 months, or I'm going to come and see John every 2 months, or I'm going to go see this coach every 2 months, or 1 month. Depends what that person wants. But I think if you see that person, that player, junior, man, woman, senior, no matter who it is, if you see them more often, then you can sort of get that steady progress forward, rather than them reverting back to the pain.
Yeah.
Well, I think probably most people have been to see a physiotherapist at some point, or some sort of sports injury person, for ailments that they might have had. And if you get told, right, you got a problem with your back, the problem is you're probably sitting at home on the sofa, not in a very good way, and you're slouching, or you're at the computer in your wrong position. What you need to do, go home, sit like this, do these exercises, and you go, yep, I'll do that. And you go home, and day 1, you sit like that and you do the exercises, and day 2, you sit like that, do the exercises, and day 3, you catch yourself in the sofa, slump down, you haven't done your exercises, and you just fall back into that snowball. And guess what? In a month's time, you got the pain back again.
Yeah.
And that's the same with what happens with golf. Practice doesn't make perfect, it makes permanent. If you're rehearsing the bad things over and over again, you'll just ingrain them, and they can be harder to get out of people. So I think if you're seeing people more often, it makes it so much easier to take them out of that sort of pain zone and get them into either better positions, they're performing better, they're creating more power, they're hitting the ball better, whatever the case may be. But I think that's the key. I think I'm lucky with the 10 sort of squads that I get to see them perhaps a few times over the season, and they're obviously working with their team managers or coaches there, working with them, just keeping an eye on them. They've also probably their own coaches that they're using, sort of personal coaches, which is great. So we can sort of talk, okay, what have you been doing with your coach? How's that going? Are you doing that? Let me have a quick look. Yes, you are doing that. Or you say to him, right, when you go back to your home coach, just ask him to check up on this, or her to check up on this.
Yeah. I must admit, James, your segue into the pain performance prism was superb. You just effortlessly just chucked it in there. Anyone that's unaware, so basically anyone that comes to see me for treatment, I've got this sort of pain performance prism, which is you come in with pain, which means you lack the ability to get in certain positions, whether it be in any sport or in golf, which causes you to lack power, which means affects your performance. And the whole idea is we're trying to fix the pain, get you in better positions, give you more power and give you more performance. So that being said, so you've covered the pain side of it. They're struggling with positions and obviously power and performance. So when you see people now randomly when they're in trouble, so right, I'm going to book a lesson. I haven't been playing well. I'm slicing it. I'm not hitting it as far. I'm hitting it fat. And they come and see you, and you give them the results that, which are, and I used to say it to you, it was that halo effect. I'd come to you and I'd go, James, it's not working. It's going wrong. And you go, hit some balls, and then they'd all be fine. You just having you standing next to me, all of a sudden I just hit.
That's how good I am.
Exactly. Exactly. Just that halo effect. And all of a sudden, then the amount of times we would start working on stuff where I'm hitting it well. But same thing with fitness, same thing with anything that you're going to do. If you're going to make long-term change, you've got to have that commitment. You've got to have someone that holds you accountable if you can't hold yourself accountable. Obviously, the long-term goal is to be able to hold yourself accountable. So what difference are you seeing with people that are coming into you and seeing you for a one-off lesson randomly when they decide they're struggling, as opposed to the guys that commit to whatever section it is, whether it's short game, whether it's full swing, that commit to a bulk of lessons that gives you the ability to see them at intervals where they're not choosing the sort of random intervals of it, as in I'm not choosing when I'm really bad. They're just showing up on a day, and you're getting all that data and you're getting it over, a 30-day, 90-day, 6-month, 1 year period. What are their results like compared to the guys that just do it randomly?
I think the first thing is I try to avoid people who want to come for that one-off time. I'm not going to say no, because obviously it's nice to work with people, but it's difficult from a coach's point of view when you see someone, you just think, oh, they're just going to come for a lesson and then maybe I won't see them again. It's so hard because you try and do the best job you can in an hour or 2 hours or however that time frame will be. But you sort of know that if this person doesn't carry on doing the drills or doing the things that you've asked them to do, they're just going to fall back down that pit into pain again. If you've got someone who's sliced it for 20 years and they come for one lesson, it's unlikely you're going to change it into a straight shot or a draw or alleviate that slice completely. It'll probably creep back in. Hopefully you can do a great job in that hour. So I would say the people that come to see me, I've got a guy who the club I used to be at, come see me once a month. There's no real, say, emphasis on, okay, right, we've got to do this month, we've got to do this month, we're going to look at this. He's playing quite a bit in between, and we can check up on everything. So we've got an idea, okay, this is where you were swinging it before, this is what you looked like before, and this is what you're doing now. And when you were hitting it good last time, this is sort of numbers that you were putting up. So I've got a better picture. I think he's got a better picture as a student, because often he'll say to me, he goes, oh, I said, I remember you talking to me about that before, like, last year or 6 months ago when I was doing that same thing. And I'm like, yeah, you've fallen back into that little habit again. So let's do this drill, let's try this feeling to start to get you out, because this is the problem, it creates. And yeah, he'll play good and he'll have bad days as well, but hopefully he's sort of steadily stayed either on where he is or his handicap's starting to come down a little bit. I think he used to be around about 12-ish handicap. I think he's comfortably playing off of 7 or 8 now. So he's definitely come down in the last few years, good improvement. Yeah. Obviously to maintain that level, and again, as we get older, it gets harder to maintain that level. I've got people who come to see me and say, oh, I've crept up to 12 or 14 handicap, I'm shooting 84s and 85. I used to be a 7 handicap. And I'll say, well, when were you a 7 handicap? Oh, well, not that long ago, 2010, I was probably playing off 7. I'm like, it's 11 years ago. And you're 65 now, and you were 54 then. So age has had an impact on you, and, probably family life has changed and home life dynamic, all those things come into it. So looking back and going, well, I used to do this or I used to play this. You know, it could be that you're playing more golf or less golf. All of those sort of things come in. But I think the impact that a longer period of seeing someone has is that it's far easier to monitor them. The relationship is better with you as a coach because you're seeing them more often and you can fix things quicker as well and progress them on. The worst thing as a coach is you get someone who comes in for a lesson, they go, I'm doing this, right, here's how you fix it. This is what I want you to go and do. You don't see them for 9 months. Then they come back almost a year later and they go, I'm doing that again. I'm like, really, what a surprise. I haven't seen you in 9 months. So whereas the person who's coming in once a month, you say, yes, it's still there a little bit, but let's fix that. And now we can move on and we can do this element and we can improve this bit of your swing. It's going to be very difficult to improve all these different areas of swing or, you know, for you with injury or from a health point of view, if you don't see that person and you're always coming back to the start point every single time.
Yeah. It's the same thing in treatment. You know, someone will come in and you just say, for instance, a golfer, they come in, do a TPI screen and just say they foul every screen from top to bottom. Yep. And there's a million things that you can do. But then obviously you could say, right, okay, so what is it you're struggling with right at the moment? What is the pain at the moment? Let's say it's this. So, right, you want to work on that, but you're going to be aware that that pain is caused by something else. So say, for instance, the amount of times people will come in with me and they will have, I don't know, a shoulder problem. And everyone thinks it's the shoulder, but not, it's just the upper back. So we're going to alleviate the pain of the shoulder, but we're going to get that upper back moving better. So that's the plan then. However, we want to find out why the back has stopped moving. Yeah. What is it you've been doing? You know, how did you do that? And the amount of times that people can just give you more and more data, it gives you the ability to just, you don't, I mean, we're the same. We look at people and you've got this list of things that you can fix. But if you know they're only going to be there once, or you're in a position that you just want them to get the best result possible for that hour they spend with you, you're going to work on that one thing where they see the result and then they can go on and move better, hit the ball better, you know, stop the slice, whatever it may be. But having that data, knowing someone is so important. When someone walks in and they say, for instance, someone walk in with me and I can see they've got more tone in one shoulder and in one neck muscle as opposed to the other, I instantly know, right, what is it you've been doing? How have you been doing that? And it must be the same with you with, you know, they come in and they hit a different shape. And then you're able to say to them, okay, how comes you've been in that shape? And they would say whether it's a mindset thing because the course they've been playing or a club or whatever. And that data is so important. And sometimes it's not even the measurable data, it's your own eyes, and it's what you get to see compared to what you've seen before.
And what that person's feeling as well. And with the technology now that you can measure, whether it be with swing, with TrackMan, or whether it be via video or so we're looking at, you know, using like a laser for start line, whatever with putting. And so you'll often get people, you know, I did a session the other day and got some people hitting putts and they've done a read and they're like, oh, it's not going in. So my first question is, okay, is your read correct? Yeah. Okay, well now we can get some feedback as well. It's going to be one other thing, or a couple of other things then. Is the speed bad? Are you blasting it past? No. Are you leaving it short? No. What's the only other thing that's going to be wrong then? Start line. Are you hitting your start line? I think I am. Okay, well, should we check? So I put an elevated string. I think I put a putting gate in and then they couldn't get it through the putting gate. I tried like 6 times, kept hitting the same bit of the putting gate. Well, there you go. Now we can see like a tendency with your stroke as to why the ball's not going in. You know, someone who comes to you slicing it, or to me as a coach, slicing it, and you fix it, and you say, okay, well, this is why you're doing it. This is where the club's moving to. We need to move the club in this direction. Got to get it nearer to the target or, you know, out to the right if they decide they want to hit a draw. They come back after a month or whatever. I'm slicing it again. I'm doing what you told me though. Are you? Are you really? Shall we have a look on TrackMan and see that? Well, I think I'm doing it. Okay, well, let's check it. Well, last lesson, you were 1 degree swinging out to the right, and now you're back at swinging it 6 to the left. Oh, but I feel I'm swinging so far to the right. Okay, yeah, but you're not.
Yeah.
But not that that's a bad thing, but what they feel they're doing and what they actually do can be 2 totally different things. And just getting that progress on is like a big, big jump. Same with Aimpoint. People come for a clinic and go, oh, I've done my 2 hours. Is that all there is to it? No, There's loads more we can do. We can talk about a number of other things, more speed stuff, more visualization of where the ball's going to run to, aim checking all the time, making sure technically you're in a good position, drills that you use and how you practice before a round and outside round, all of those things. It's not just a case of, right, come and do 2 hours and magic wand, you're an amazing putter.
Yeah.
There's other stuff that you can progress on. I think that's the thing, is people who want to improve that performance, perhaps got that drive to go, right, yeah, I'm going to commit to it. And for some people, there's going to be reasons that they can't necessarily commit. And I totally get that. So sometimes it's going to be financial, sometimes it's going to be time, sometimes it's going to be health or other factors. They just can't come that often. Work, family life, every reason can be in there, and I do get that. But then they've got to realise, okay, you're probably up against like a tour pro who's got everything at their disposal. So don't be too harsh on yourself. Take it with a pinch of salt. But even if you do a little bit each day, as you know, little bits each day add up to fantastic results.
Yeah.
So someone who says, oh, I haven't got time to practice my start line because I'm too busy at work, blah, blah, blah. Have you got 2 minutes a day to get your putter out on the carpet and practice it in a 5/10 piece? Well, yeah, I can do that. Great. Do that for 2 minutes. Because that 14 minutes that you're going to do in a week on that start line practice is better than nothing.
Yeah.
It's a lot better than nothing. You know, someone who wants to diet and cut out calories, I find it really difficult to not eat right. Can you just cut out the piece of chocolate that you're having at night, or the bowl of ice cream, or can you not eat a bowl of Frosties in the morning? Can you have something like Weetabix instead? Oh yeah, well, I could probably do that. Okay, well, that's great. Well, that saved you 300 calories a day. So that is a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, is they don't have to be giant leaps forward. Those little results done well over a period of time lead to really good results at the end of it.
Plus also as well, that it just becomes such a habit that you don't even think about it. You literally don't think about it anymore. So it's no longer a problem.
Absolutely. It just becomes part of your daily routine.
And you get to a point that when you haven't done it, you're disappointed in yourself, rather than, oh, this is something I have to do. It becomes so ingrained in your behavior. You're like, oh, I haven't done that. Oh, why didn't I do that? What's wrong with me? And then you jump on it the next day. So James, I know that you are pressed for time. You got to get back out and get coaching. So anyone that's listening to this, anyone that wants to get in touch with you, anyone that's interested in Aimpoint, or any of the, they want to maybe try and convince their golf club to get you to come to them, where can they get in touch with you, and where can they follow you?
So the best place to get in touch is probably via my website, which is jps-golfacademy.com. If anyone wants to email me, they can email me through the website or just direct, and it is james@jps-golfacademy.com. You can find me on Twitter under JPS Golf Academy, and on Instagram and all those other social media platforms. But JPS Golf Academy is pretty much across it. If anyone wants to reach out and talk anything through, I'm more than happy to do so.
Brilliant. And James, even though we speak quite regularly, we don't normally have this this type of conversation. So we'll definitely have to do this again.
We've gone more in depth. It's been nice.
Exactly, yeah. For more information on golf performance, by increasing your power, by getting in better positions, by working on your body and mind, go to unbreakablegolfers.com and sign up to the free asset.